Okay, I really like this article, so I just put some of the points to it directly from the article onto this PowerPoint. So consider me like an audio book. I'm an audio article because it's all from Mullen's article, Insidious Influence of Gender Socialization on Females' Physical Activity, Rethink Pink. So basically, I see this article as the impact of gender bias for females and how it can literally change their life. I think there's some really strong ideas in here and I wanted to share them with you. So I'm going to ask you some questions that come directly from Mullen's article. Have you ever helped a young girl perform a task that you allowed a boy of the same age to perform independently? So think about it for a second. You ever like 4-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy, girl, have you done something differently when you have worked with those kids? Like, let a boy like cross the street and go over and play at some neighbor's house and not a girl. Climbing trees, that's a good one, without assisting them. Oh, so have you done that? I can say I have. Have you ever allowed a young girl to perform a skill within proper form, but ensure that a boy learn it properly? Yeah, I've seen that happen all the time. It's like fathers is really concentrating on that boys, on jiu-jitsu or like how to kick that soccer ball and maybe not spending as much time on girls. I'm not saying it happens all the time, so don't get all head up about it, but I think that we really work more diligently with boys when we're instructing them how to do something to the maximum degree, right? Much more than girls. We're just going to kind of let them do it because we're going to pretend like they're going to execute it properly, right? Have you ever complimented a female by comparing her to a male? Wow, you're almost as strong as your brother. Look at you. Tall as daddy, right? You can hit that ball just like a boy. Have you ever employed an expression such as you throw like a girl as a criticism? Maybe you haven't, but you've heard it, right? You have heard it, for sure. Have you ever clothed or seen a female clothed in a way that restricts her ability to play? I'm going to talk about this again, as I always do as a preschool teacher. Oh, yes, I have. Definitely. I definitely have, right? Because I work with preschoolers and I work in a rainy, muddy sort of environment, and I have girls coming to preschool in dresses, and then we're putting on our rain pants and putting on our rain jackets, and they're having to cram those dresses into the rain pants, and they're crying because I'm not going to help them. I don't help them. I don't help them do it. They got to do it. Therefore, they can do it, right? Or they've got to tie their hair back. It's falling in their face because their pretty old bows aren't staying on. And I know this sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm kind of not, because I really have watched in my preschool practice. I've been doing this for a long time. I've watched how often girls are restricted because of what they're wearing, literally restricted. They can't climb up in trees, get all the stuff on, or they don't want to get their clothes dirty. All sorts of stuff like that happens all of the time, all of the time. And I'm telling you, firsthand experience here, still happens. Have you ever struggled to find a toy for a young girl in a color other than pink? Well, yeah, we can find stuff other than pink, but there's a lot of pink out there for girls. A lot of pink, and it continues. I mean, the marketing really keeps girls loving pink and boys hating pink, or the boys that like pink feeling bad because they do. Something's wrong with them, right? So yeah, I have to say it's still pretty hard to find stuff non-pink or purple. This is a really important one. Oh, this is a sad one. Have you ever purchased toys or sports equipment that promote physical activity for young boys, but products that promote sedentary play for girls? Oh yeah, just think about it. Come on, think about it. Think of the kinds of toys that we give to boys, right? Things that they can, sports equipment, stuff they can superhero fly, run, do all this stuff, and think of things that we give to girls. Here's an example. Kaboingy, right there. I mean, this happens all the time. We're going to give girls all sorts of homemaking things, right? Where they're going to be doing what? Literally sitting down, literally being sedentary. When you play with babies, sedentary. When you play pretend like vanity, make yourself gorgeous, sedentary, right? Lots of sedentary stuff for girls and more active things for boys, hands down. So if you answered yes, or you kind of know there's a lot of yeses out there, then you are acknowledging a lot of what happens in the US and globally actually, is that the kinds of ways that we raise up our girls versus raise up our boys, that this gender socialization really has an impact on the health and fitness of the female population. Just hands down it does. And read this article in detail, and I mean, I was kind of horrified. I knew it already, but just seeing it and seeing some of the stats, I was horrified that it happens. So then, is physical activity a gender-related issue? What do you think I'm going to say to that? Yes, of course I am. So, right, is that physical activity is gender segregated. We let our boys take up more space, move their bodies more freely, more loudly, more aggressively than we do girls, hands down. We do it at school. We do it in outside sport activities. We do it at home. We do it all over the place. And so, sadly, when we look at some of the statistics on this, even though there hasn't been a million studies done, we're seeing that specific to preschool even. Preschool, when you're just kind of this boundless energy full of kind of kid that you should just be all over the place, don't get defined yet. Not the case at all. Starts in preschool that girls are doing less physical activities than boys. All over the place, right? And then as they're getting into school, and moving through school, they're doing fewer PE classes. They're not doing team sports afterwards. There's less physical activity during recess. I mean, come on, unless they're playing horses, right? Horses is kind of big for girls because they have long, beautiful manes. Oh, they're so gorgeous, right? But a lot of times they're not doing anything like that. They're just hanging out, talking when the boys are running all over the place. So when we think about how important exercise is, we've heard it for a million years now, right? For us, for anybody, like, oh, it's going to make you stronger, you're going to live longer, you're going to be just more resilient, it's just better self-esteem, all sorts of stuff. Then you realize that this gendered activity of allowing boys to have the stage of physical activity is devastating for girls. I mean, literally devastating. Sounds kind of dire, doesn't it? So to counter that kind of stuff, we have to stop teaching girls to be so girly. And if our big businesses, our marketers keep telling girls like, oh, it's so much fun to have longer eyelashes and this beautiful, cute little baby doll that you can put diapers on, and look at, I'm going to give you like a pretend washing machine and dryer and an ironing board. I mean, some really great quiet activities because you're a girl and you'll love it. And we've talked about this before in the class, is that even before our little wee ones are born, we've already set the stage for them to have a certain type of life, right? Precious baby girl or little man, we've already got these ideas that we're going to keep our girls insular and we're going to be quieter and more careful with them. We're going to not let them take those risks, not climb that highest tree, not jump off that plank or construct your own, fort where you something might fall on your head. I don't know. We're doing all of that to girls versus boys, and we're teaching them to be in their stereotypical roles, right? So girls as homemaker and boys as the breadwinner. I mean, it started way out when we talked about that whole timeline thing, and where females stay home and tend the fires and grow the food and take care of the babies, and the males are out in the world hunting and negotiating and setting up governments. Oh gosh, I could go on. So when we think about how we socialize kids, marketing has a lot to do with it, but when you look at all, I mean, just look at some of the little graphics on t-shirts. That's just such an easy thing to do, right? And there's some really awful ones for girls. I just didn't want to put them on here. It's too depressing. But the whole idea that we just enshrine our boys to just think that, yeah, this world is yours. This world is so yours. I mean, and that's a great message, right? But it shouldn't be limited just to boys, right? There should be other messages that are great for girls here too. And the idea that girls aren't stuck living, taking care of things within the home, because everybody's going to be working, let's face it. But what do we do when they're young? We give them these kind of messages. Boys can go out and run the world. And girls are going to be working on with their dollhouses and taking care of their stuffed animals and their little babies and their little this and learn how to groom themselves and look beautiful, right? Those messages are so still there. You know they are. Think about it. So while girls rehearse how to be a good mother, a good homemaker, a good baker, whatever, all those things, those are all less physical than what boys are expected to do, are aspiring to do, right? And I'm not suggesting that childcare and domesticity isn't like a great thing and it should be introduced to both girls and boys, but I'm saying from a health standpoint, the idea that girls park it a lot when they're playing, that's the problem. And it goes on beyond, the early ages, right? Into upper elementary school and middle school and high school, the girls participating in sports just diminishes. The idea that it's just as important for girls, it's just out the window. It's out the window. And even though Title IX, as we've talked about, is supposed to help prevent all that stuff, it ain't doing it. I mean, it's helped, but it's sure not doing it. I mean, this graph, let's see, what does it say? Fewer than 10%. So this is a ranking done. When was it done? I'm not sure when because I got this graphic from somewhere else. I think it's not that old. So again, we're still really not participating. The lighter the color of the state, the less the participation. So in the darker is only 50% or more girls are participating. So those numbers are still low. So I like this. Media coverage is another well-documented area of inequity and means of perpetuating gender stereotypes, right? Because who are we covering? We're covering males. I mean, I'm not just talking boys. I mean, we're covering the men in sports all the time. And you all know what I'm talking about with that. Who gets all the coverage? Who gets all of it? All of it. So look at some of these statistics. ESPN Sports Center, 95% devoted to males. CNN Sports Today, 93% devoted to male athletes. US Today, 5 times as much space to males versus female athletes. Sports Illustrated 10%. 10% to women. And then Sports Illustrated Kids, you think, okay, come on, we're going to really try to level this playing field here with kids. No, 24% get coverage by females. That's like a fourth. And then college campus newspapers, I mean, there's some great teams on our campus, right? Not that long ago, it seems like forever, but it was about a month ago, I was watching the softball team, the women's softball team. Just happened by it. I mean, there was hardly anyone in the bleachers, and they were kicking butt. But and it was at a weird time of day, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, who has availability then? Again, we're not covering females' sports, which means, simple message, they're not as important as male sports. That is the message. Can't get around that. So even the way that we cover women versus men in sports, a lot of times we're looking at men and we're focusing on their performance, right? We're focusing on what they do as the athlete, whatever sport they're in. We're looking at that, we're looking at their ability, their skills, their strength. That's how we cover them. And often we cover women in an entirely different way. Now, maybe not to this extreme, but this is an example that I came across. So this is an Olympic player. You know, when you're an Olympic player, you're up there, right? So we got her literally out of her uniform. Literally. And we're doing this with women a lot of times in sports. We're looking at appearance and not their ability. And that happens, that happens all the time for girls and women. And is it continuing? Yeah, sure. So here's Olympic sports, right? This is beach volleyball. And what are the women wearing? Da-da! And they're still wearing this, even though now some changes have been made in their uniform. But it wasn't that long ago that this was required. This was required. You had to wear this. You had to wear it. But now there's been some push for religious reasons and performance reasons and sexist reasons to get away from this requirement, literal requirement of a uniform for an Olympic athlete. So they started working on 2012. Before that, it was mandatory that you had to wear that bikini, right? And now the men's uniform has been pretty much consistent forever. Yeah, some shorts and a tank top. Anybody can work with that, or most people can work with that. But women's uniform was that, and then they backed down, and you could have one piece if you didn't want to show your belly, I guess. Midriff, excuse me. But now they're finally have come around to providing alternatives for Olympic female athletes. As well they should. Right? It's not about appearance. It's about performance. Don't make them, don't make them appear. It's not part of the game. That's more like it. Some choices how you could purport yourself in this team, in this sport. So that's looking pretty good, right? So then we're just like there, we're all level, everything's really good, right? You know what I'm going to say. Nah, nope, because there's just this great example that didn't happen that long ago. In the 2018 French Open, when Serena Williams, after she wore that, said, 2019, no more. You will not be able to wear this kind of uniform or outfit, whatever you want to call it, to play tennis because it's not appropriate. And if you read up on this, Serena Williams was wearing this for a very specific reason. So read up on that. Check that out. So that's not gendered. That's not sexist. That someone's going to determine what she should wear in order to perform at her best. And she's like Serena Williams. Are you kidding me? Anyway, that's a short version of this wonderful article. When you look at it more, you're going to see some ways beyond what we just talked about, or I just talked about, in terms of how gendering children, specific to physical activity, the impact it has on girls. I mean, we could talk about the impact on boys, oh yeah, I wasn't a jock and I was teased because I didn't want to play. Like my son, he didn't want to play all that stuff. He doesn't care about all of it. He doesn't watch football, and I mean, he's pretty good about it, but I'm sure he was teased a lot. So there's an impact on both girls and boys, right? Because of the class we're in, we're kind of targeting girls right now. So food for thought. Read the whole article and you'll get a lot more out of it. Thanks for listening to me go on and on, as I always do. This stuff is pretty important to me, as you can kind of tell. Okay, I'll be talking to you soon.